Today we return to the world of writing in our quest to position ourselves as experts. A while back I was having a chat with one of my friends, and he was discussing an idea for a book aimed at the corporate market. And he said something interesting. He said, where would I get enough corporate examples? And it made me think, a lot of people, when they're writing for a certain market, will get hung up on the idea that the illustrations must come from that market. I myself write and speak for the corporate market, but I barely ever reference it in my presentations or in my books. By way of an example, my book, They're Your Rules, Break Them, is about innovation and about crashing through barriers, finding competitive advantage by scratching at the rules that make up our industries. And yet if you take a look at the different sample chapters, they go like this. One of them speaks about Game of Thrones. The next one is about the Israeli Defense Force. Then we speak about the nation of India and its evolution. Then it's a boxing match in apartheid South Africa. There are very few actual examples from the corporate world. Now, why is that? Well, there are a few reasons. One, it is immensely boring to have the stagnant landscape in which every story is and a guy in a cubicle, and a guy in a cubicle, and a guy in a boardroom. It doesn't change things in the imagination. And two, it's the principle we're after, not the setting. If you can get the principle from The Lord of the Rings, or from The Flight of a Pterodactyl, or from a conversation you had with your 2-year-old, then use that story. There is no reason to reference corporate examples only when you are talking to a corporate market. In fact, I would argue that the more you do, the more boring the writing becomes. So in your speaking, in your presenting, in your writing, draw your principles, your analogies, your ideas, and your underlying architecture of ideas from a range of different sources. The greater the myriad of sources, the greater the emotional landscape you will create in the imagination. Next time you sit down to write, try and find an interesting place from which to draw your point.